Well, as if the season couldn't bring more interesting news, more bad news. Stephen Curry injured. We got some updates on that. We're going to recap that ridiculous game in Indiana last night. Kevin Danna is with me. And the great news about that is, besides the fact that you're just an amazing human being, Kevin, is we're going to get some information on those Santa Cruz players because that might bear some particular relevancy on today's show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, sometimes Golden State Warriors, on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Kev, I hosted a show solo right after the game last night. People heard my piece. What was your immediate reaction to the Warriors now starting their road trip 0-2 and falling to 2-13 on the road on the year? We'll touch on Steph and everything else in a moment, but first, your reaction to last night's game.
Very frustrated with the second quarter. Like, giving up 47 points to the Indiana Pacers in a quarter, not my idea of a good time. And yes, they had Halliburton this game, didn't have him the previous game. But man, I mean, they just got whatever they wanted in the second quarter. They were like 9 of 13 from three, 69% from beyond the arc or from the field in that second quarter. And that was the game because for 30 minutes of the game, Golden State was better than Indiana. But those 18 minutes that they weren't, in the 12 in the second quarter in particular, were a disaster for Golden State. It was not good. And the fact that they could have won that game, they had a chance to come back without Steph Curry over the final quarter and change that they played without him in that game. And they still fought back to make it a 3-point game. That was good to see. I feel like there are too many of these close losses, almost wins that are moral victories for Golden State on the road, which obviously gets a little tiring for a team with championship aspirations. And we'll get into the Steph stuff, but frustrating because you feel like you are good enough to get at least one of two from Indiana, and you go 0-2 against the Pacers this year.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And look, for the people, and we got the chat open. It's live Thursday. Where's this week in life and time going? It's on a live Thursday edition of Locked On Warriors. The chat, again, is open and for business. And what I've been seeing on Twitter, I'm seeing a couple comments here already. And hello to the folks that didn't make it to our little live stream right here in the chats. Is people are freaking out about the Steph injury. I get it. Okay. He's the heart and soul of this team. One of the greatest players in the history of the game. We're witnessing greatness in our lifetimes, which is always a perk. It's always special. Either Shams or Shams. You and I were discussing how to pronounce his first name. Shams Charania tweeted out that it is a labrum injury, and that they're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks. That's not the end of the world to me. All right, and all indications are, remember he suffered a somewhat similar shoulder injury against the Hawks. I think it was in Atlanta, and that's the only other occurrence I can think of where it was like an upper body type injury that Steph suffered. Normally the injuries are lower leg, knees, ankles. Regardless, it's his non-shooting shoulder. Again, I haven't heard any really scary words like tear or break. It didn't look horrible. So again, according to Shams or Shams, however you pronounce it, they're going to reevaluate Stephen Curry in 2 weeks. That's not doom and gloom to me, folks. All right. That does not, I'm not hitting a panic button because of that. Even if it's a month, far from the end of the world. He was out a month last year, in case you folks forgot, with that ankle injury, I believe, at the end of the season. What is your initial reaction, Kevin, to Stephen Curry likely missing the rest of this road trip, missing the Christmas game, probably missing the rest of the year. What do you see happening? Are you worried? Your thoughts initially on the Stephen Curry injury?
Yeah, but by rest of the year, you mean 2022, the calendar
Correct.
year.
Thank you for clarifying
that. Yeah, I mean, first off, reevaluated in 2 weeks doesn't mean he's going to play in 2 weeks.
Correct.
It just means like they'll take a look in a couple of weeks. I mean, that's the Shams Charania tweet. I don't know, like the official. The Warriors haven't put anything out yet. And as an employee, I mean, A, I don't know anything beyond what anyone else does, but B, like I'm not necessarily allowed to speculate on injuries. But I will say, I guess it's better that it's his non-shooting shoulder than a lower extremity injury.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we're looking for silver lining here, when I watched the replay, like there wasn't one thing that I said, oh man, he really messed up his shoulder, right? Like, I mean, obviously it's what happened. Like he felt it immediately and it's serious enough for him to be, curbed for a little bit. But it wasn't one of those things where it's like a nasty, like where it's like, oh, he obviously separated his shoulder or anything like that. I watched the play. I'm like, oh wow, Steph's hurt. I didn't like it wasn't like something that just popped out when he reached in for the Jalen Smith's drive.
Right.
It sucks. I mean, I don't count the 2019-20 season when they, ESPN put up that graphic with the Warriors record without Steph because that season doesn't really count with respect.
No, it does not.
No. You didn't have Klay Thompson. You just lost Kevin Durant. You're figuring out kind of a new path forward. But yeah, I mean, in the last 3 seasons, so 2021, the first, kind of COVID year, after COVID hit, through I had the record somewhere. I'm pretty sure they're like 10-20 with Steph out of the lineup the last 3 years. So they're losing. Since 2021, they're 10-20 in games without Steph. So they're losing 2/3 of their games, and Warriors can't lose 2/3 of their games. Like. They don't. The thing with last year with Steph's injury, like when he got hurt in March, they weren't playing well, but they had banked a ton of wins early in the year, and like they were gonna make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still think the Warriors are gonna make the playoffs.
Same.
But like, it's gonna take if they lose 2/3 of the games without Steph in this current stretch, like. That's going to put them that much further below 500. And luckily, no one's really broken away. But it's going to be an uphill climb for sure.
Yeah, it is. And talk about lucky. I mean, instead of the Western Conference already being like foregone. I mean, if the top of the Western Conference standings had Boston and Milwaukee, you would have already been forgetting about any hope of the top seed. Still might be. I mean, the Warriors right now are currently the 10th seed. The fact they're a game below 500, this is officially the 3rd mark of the season. I think actually last game was very concerning that they're a game below 500. That is not good. I don't see how you could spin that positively in any regard. You mentioned that second quarter last night, man. I know you're an employee of the Warriors. I know you got to watch what you say specifically, but I'm so damn tired of seeing Ty Jerome out there. To a lesser extent, I'm so damn tired of seeing Anthony Lamb out there. I don't mind if they stay on the team as long as they're at that very far end of the bench where they never actually see the court unless it's garbage time. And I don't mind them standing up and cheering their teammates when they make successful plays. But when it comes to them actually getting minutes in a game, those two were a huge part of that blunder last night, the second quarter where the Warriors gave up 48 points. They were both in the game. Their plus minus was indicative of their impact in that second quarter because you did not see them much the rest of the game. I don't want to see him ever again. And my biggest panic right now is that with Stephen Curry out, Steve Kerr is just going to continue rolling Ty Jerome out there. Ty Jerome does not equal wins, okay? Like they're 14-15. A huge reason for that is this endless reliance by Kerr. It's like he's being stubborn about it. It's driving me insane. It's not producing results. This is the reason why at the beginning of the season I was saying, play the youngsters. You're not going to win with these two-way players. You're still giving heavy minutes to the starters. And now you've wasted a third of the season in terms of developing your youngsters. Thankfully, Kuminga's starting to play, and we're seeing the greatness that he could eventually become someday. Moses Moody, thankfully, is starting to see some more minutes. When we come back, I want to pick your brain about James Wiseman, because he's played, I believe, 8 games in Santa Cruz now. He had another game last night. Your calls have been awesome, bro. I just want to give you that, by the way, and sorry for dropping the bro there. But that was absolutely – these games are phenomenal to me. I love seeing James Wiseman. I love seeing Patrick Baldwin Jr. lighting it up there. Ryan Rollins is sometimes posting triple doubles. I don't know where he is, by the way. I want to pick your brain about all that in just a moment, Kevin. First, got to give some love to a couple sponsors here. First being ExpressVPN, which is your key to accessing anything that maybe national restrictions might apply to. It provides privacy. ExpressVPN allows you to binge The Office if you're in the United Kingdom, where you can't get that on Netflix. Any restrictions that you might have to your media consumption is resolved with ExpressVPN. It lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can actually tell servers where you are, even if it's not true. It's amazing. It's all about privacy. It's all about access. You can access any streaming services regardless of local restrictions. So if you want to get access to hundreds of new shows, go to expressvpn.com/lockedon right now, and you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/lockedon, expressvpn.com/lockedon to learn more. And that's not all. Today's episode is also brought to you by the National Highway Transportation Safety Agency. So let's say you're hanging out with some friends, you're putting back a few drinks, a few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride, but you're like, nah, you live nearby, you can make it home okay, it's no big deal. What are the odds that you're going to get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic, and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive drunk after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe. Plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen today. After us, check out Locked On Sports today. I might be going on there tonight, actually. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. So is Kevin Danna, at least on Twitter. You can follow him there at Kevo408. What have you been seeing, my man? I love your calls, dude. I'm hearing the excitement. I'm hearing the passion, the energy. What is your latest on James Wiseman? Is he ready to play for the Warriors? And give us your opinion on how he's been performing for the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Yeah, Cyrus, I do think he is ready to get some time with Golden State. Obviously, it's not my determination to make, but
right.
His last 5 games, I think he had kind of a wake-up call. In the 5th game, I mean, he had a double-double. He was fine, like, statistically, with 14 points, 10 rebounds. But one of the guys he was responsible for guarding, and it wasn't all on him, Neemias Queta, who's on a 2-way contract with the Stockton and Sacramento Kings, went for 38, 18, and 4 blocks. Ooh. The next time those teams played, James Wiseman went for 24 points and 13 rebounds. And I got to pull up the box score to see how Neemias Queta did. But let me tell you, he did not have 38 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Like, James Wiseman did a much better job defensively. And I'm pulling it up right now. And Neemias Queta in that game, 20, 11, and 5, but played 9 more minutes than James Wiseman.
Okay.
So, like, a lot of that production was when James wasn't on the court, or at least a good chunk of it. And from there, he's just continued to stack up good performances. He had 5 straight double-doubles, but his last 3 games, really, the offense has taken a really big step forward, just as far as he knows what he does best. He catches around the rim, and he finishes with authority. I mean, 9 for 10, 11 for 13, and 12 for 17 from the field in his last 3 games. And he's up to 68% from the field, which was just 4th in the G League. And I do think his contests have been better around the rim. I do think he has been better defensively. He was getting targeted a lot by G League teams, especially the first couple of minutes of the last 5 games where he's really played well. He made the adjustment. He started to lock things down a little bit better. He's not getting a ton of block shots, but he has picked up the rebounding last night, notwithstanding. Had a 16-rebound game in the previous game, a win over Oklahoma City on Sunday. 10 offensive rebounds in that game. The game before, Seth Cooper told me he had a 1 offensive rebound, 10 rebound game, 24-10, and last Friday against South Bay, the Lakers. And he said, you know what? James Wiseman should be a guy who can get an offensive rebound every 8 to 10 minutes. And then the next game, Wiseman went out and got 10 offensive rebounds in 29 minutes, which is more than 1 every 3 minutes. And so he really turned a corner there. He's starting to play with some swagger. He blocked a shot, I remember, on Sunday, and then made like the incomplete pass sign that refs make. Like, he's playing with some swagger on that end of the floor, and that lets me know that he's starting to pick things up, that he's starting to feel more comfortably, because we've seen what he can do offensively at the NBA level.
Yes.
That's not the problem. The defense has been the problem, and I do think that he has made strides there in his time in the G League, specifically over the last 5 games or so, where he is contesting more shots. He is becoming more of a rim deterrent. The block numbers aren't there, but, I mean, he's averaging like a 1.2 blocks per game. So, I mean, he is getting blocks, but not monster numbers. But I think he's worth, 6 to 10 minutes a night for Golden State. Just give him small stretches here and there and let him build off that. I don't know when they're going to bring James Wiseman back up, but he has certainly performed at a level that's commensurate with getting recalled to Golden State, especially. Obviously, he doesn't play the same position as Steph Curry, but he is another body to have.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And in all honesty, I don't see why he can't play the Anthony Lamb minutes. Anthony Lamb is basically their center at times out there, which is insane for a player who's 6'5". There's a lot of opinions about James Wiseman out there, and I think a lot of those opinions are based largely on a very small sample size of early this season, and the fact that whatever Kerr decides to do, oftentimes Dub Nation will fall in line and agree with it. Maybe rightfully so. I don't believe anyone on this planet is infallible, but I don't just blindly follow Steve Kerr. I love him. I'm never going to call for his head, but this season he's made a few mistakes, and he's the head coach of a professional team. It's okay for him to hear these things and for him to be criticized at times. And I just don't understand the whole Anthony Lamb thing. I just don't get it. With that said, a lot of people like Luis Ricardo Melgar Garzaro writes, Wiseman isn't about the numbers, it's about everything else. And I think what he's alluding to is the fact that a lot of the criticism geared toward Wiseman, and I don't know if it's valid or not, but a lot of people seem to say like he's not in the right place defensively. He's not setting good screens. Basically, like, it's just a positioning thing. Like, he looks lost out there. That's the criticism that I've heard a lot of regarding Wiseman. In your opinion, is that valid criticism? And has he shown improvement on the court in terms of being more aware defensively and also maybe having more confidence in regard to, let's say, like fumbling the ball and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on the criticism he's receiving in regards to that?
He's fumbled the ball less. I do think, there were positioning issues with him defensively, and that's what they worked with him a lot in Santa Cruz. As far as, after practice, one time I was down there, it'd be coaches would work on kind of 2-on-1 where the guard has gotten past, the offensive guard has gotten past the defensive guard, and it's a 2-on-1 situation. Wiseman has to make a decision on what he's going to do. Wiseman has been working on that stuff. And I do think he has gotten better defensively. It's tough for me when I call a game. I'm not just calling James Wiseman. I'm calling, all 10 guys. And so I'm not honed in on one guy during the game.
How dare you?
I don't have time to go back and watch games. I got to get ready for the next game. But like, yeah, like I feel like he's been out of position less in recent games. But yeah, I think at the NBA level, that was a fair criticism. I think, yeah, we were all able to see, and that's why the on-off numbers weren't great for James. It's one reason, I mean, a big reason why he went to Santa Cruz. There was another question tacked onto that, was there not? I forgot it.
Well, no, I think you answer that, and we'll have more in just a moment for you. Someone in the chat wrote that the Warriors PR just released new information about Steph. That is true. I will share that with everyone in just a minute after we first talk about Built Bar. I haven't talked about Built Bar in a while on this show. And look, Built Bar, besides the fact that it's yummy, you can't go wrong just with the yums. It's also relatively healthy for you when it comes to a protein bar, because they don't have a lot of sugar, right? On average, I think they have something like 3 grams of sugar per bar, 4 grams of sugar per bar. That's not a lot, especially when these same protein bars are packed on average with 17 grams of protein. It's made with 100% real chocolate and only 130 calories per bar. I'm on the process of trying to shed some weight. I've done enough pity eating for losing my dog, my poor baby. But, sometimes, first time in my life, I did depression eating. And now it's time to lose the weight. Built Bar is going to be my salve, again, because it tastes amazing. They got flavors like cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, coconut brownie topper. I'm all about the granola flavored bars. No matter what your taste is, they got you covered. You got to try it. Plain and simple. Get 15% off your order right now by using the code LOCKEDON15 at built.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. So here is what Warriors PR has tweeted out. This is a Stephen Curry injury update for the podcast listeners. I will enunciate this as clearly as possible. Golden State Warriors guard Stephen Curry, who suffered an injury with 2:04 remaining in the third quarter of last night's game in Indiana, underwent an MRI today in Philadelphia. The MRI confirmed that Curry experienced a left shoulder subluxation. How do you pronounce that, Kevin? You're a professional broadcaster.
Subluxation? I've never heard of that word before right now.
You have no idea how much you made me feel good by stumbling over that yourself. Subluxation. A left shoulder subluxation. I have also never heard that before. A timeline for his return will be provided in the coming days. So that's what's going on. Again, I don't think this is a doom and gloom scenario. The Warriors have survived Stephen Curry being injured before. My question to you, Kevin, is what do you think the Warriors are going to do? Let's say for the sake of argument that he's going to miss a month. All right. What is the plan? What do you think Steve Kerr is going to do? I mean, I imagine Jordan Poole will start in Curry's place. Maybe Dante DiVincenzo. What are your thoughts in terms of how the Warriors are going to respond to Steph missing a month?
Yeah. All right. So I imagine with all right. So when Wiggins comes back, it would be what? It would just be Poole, Wiggins, Clay, Looney, and Draymond as your starting five. Probably Dante, your sixth man, and Kuminga not too far behind with, I think, then Moody and Lamb coming up after that. I think that's kind of the nine you roll with it. And hopefully at some point in the next couple of weeks, you work the big ticket in there, Jay Wise and JaMychal Green some minutes there. By the way, JaMychal Green shot the Warriors back into the game last night. Okay,
a lot of people hating on him, Kev. A lot of people are hating.
People were writing eulogies on his 3-point shot after 40 attempts in his season, and obviously he was shooting sub 20%. That's not good, but he went from being 17, 18% to 25% because he hit 3 straight threes. So it's still a small, still a small sample size. His 3-point shot isn't dead yet. So
And it looked good. It almost looked like he snapped out of it. Like it wasn't. There were nothing but net shots. The form was good. It looked different. From did you agree with that? I don't know. That's what I saw.
I couldn't tell one way or another.
Oh yeah, you were calling the Santa Cruz game. That's right.
But no, I watched the whole game. Like,
good. Okay.
I watched the whole game. The game ended before we went on the air. I make sure. Oh, I missed the first minute and 12 seconds of the second half because I was going from the Santa Cruz office to Kaiser Permanente Arena.
Gotcha.
I got into a prolonged conversation with our team president, just going and reminiscing about Cal athletics. But anyways,
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, like, obviously it's not great when Steph's not in the lineup, but like you still have guys you can go to and stuff. So, yeah, I imagine that's what it's going to be. Then, for the next, I don't know when Andrew Wiggins is coming back, but it should be soon.
Right.
So yeah.
Dante DiVincenzo has been such a huge positive for the Warriors this year, man. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I love his game. Love it.
Yeah. Well, like your favorite player, Cyrus, Ty Jerome, how he was the lone bright spot in the 5-game road trip where they went 0-5. Like Dante DiVincenzo has been a bright spot in these 2 losses to start the 6-game road trip.
Oh my God. You're funny, man. So yeah, I do love what DiVincenzo's been doing. I hope he gets more playing time. All right, we're having so much fun that we're going to make this a 2-part show. So click on the next show to watch the rest of the excitement.